So I'm using a virtual background because this is a series of poems that I wrote after a family trek to a place called Laugarh. Now, I live in a place in Maharashtra, in the state of Maharashtra, which has a lot of forts, which in the earlier years, in the earlier centuries, were battlegrounds for warring armies. Today, of course, those are kind of nothing like that happens. So they've become tourist spots. Lahogarh Lahu means iron, Garh is fort. So it used to be considered an impregnable kind of fort. So my family and I went there in December, and these poems came from that experience. Invincible Laugarh. For thousands of years and more, this sheer rock-faced sentinel withstood monsoons, cyclones, trees swishing wildly in the wind, roots holding firm ground storm after storm. Awed by the silent power of rock rising from earth's core, Maharajas named it Lahogarh, the invincible fort. The iron fort witnessed wars fought on horseback with guns, swords, matching skill and strength with strength and skill. But today, weapons and war fronts have changed. Mindless monkeys overrun the fort in hordes, menacing, growling, baring teeth at young couples. Cheeks bulging with booty, baboons grab crisps from kids, caps from bearded old men, attack solitary climbers for daring to walk alone. Laugarh will survive scorching summers, monsoons, and more. But the sun will parch monkeys to dry dust. This is an allegorical poem which has been submitted for an exhibition on, I won't say celebrating, but on 75 years of India's independence from the British, and that the monkeys represent what is happening in our country today. My second poem is Trekking to Laugarh. In my early years, when I was in college and the early 20s, I did a lot of trekking, and even later, I still like walking in the mountains and hills. But the place has changed. Trekking to Laugarh. In my youth, Lahogarh was a 3-day trek. Day 1, cross-country marching from railhead across fields with curious cows, shepherds chewing neem sticks under the rising sun to reach the foot of the fort by sunset. Day 2, scan rock face for path, climb, pant, stop, clamber over stones, seeking footholds in cracks of rock. Reach top, slump, swearing never again. Search for firewood to warm home food. Day 3, descend, heel before toe, slip with rolling stones, grip tree roots, run, slither, slide to meet flat ground. Match to railroad, already planning the next trek. Today, road runs from railhead to Laugarh base, ferrying fancy cars. Rock-hewn steps ease footsteps, taming the fort for tourists for whom selfies against obsolete cannons are proof they have conquered the iron fort. Here's an image. Here's an image of how the fort was and how the steps have been, the rough hewn steps, and what it is now.
Mayor, you're on share screen right now, so we can't see your face except minorly. So your desktop is showing, just so you know, you can stop sharing or I can try to do it myself.
Okay, no, so you can see the images, David?
Yes, yes, if that's what you want. I wanted to make sure.
I think that's more important.
Okay,
that's more
yeah.
important.
That answers our question. Thank you.
So on this, I've said civilized rock, rugged rock, which is this part, civilized into steps to ease citizens' ascent. Cut to blocks or shapeless, rock remains rock. And now, next image. That's my granddaughter posing as a tourist conquering the fort. Relics, cannons, once alive to thundering battle cries, flinging fireballs at invading tribes, triumphant in victory over and over again. Cannons now dead, sleeping in straight lines. Shiny paint washing away traces of blood, dust, gray, brown, red. Pathetic relics mocking the valor that once was authentic. As one climbs up the fort, one comes across these very beautiful, imperious doors. So that's my grandson standing against one of these doors. Doors. Imperious doors of seasoned teak, studded with spikes, chains, and rings heavier than horses, coalescing. Entry and exit, inside and outside, safety and danger, comfort and adventure. Do doors lead? Do they confine? Do they protect? This is a visual from the top of the fort. As you can see, there are little gaps in between the wall, which from where soldiers would aim, or also there would be lookout points from where they could see miles into the distance for approaching armies. I don't have a poem on this yet. I still have to do one. Now, as I mentioned in the first poem, we could not have our picnic snacks on the fort because of the monkeys. So we left, we came down, we were driving around, and we were looking for a place where we could park and sort of just relax for a bit. We passed 2 or 3 outcroppings, but people were already there, cars were already there. So we drove on and then found a little spot. We got off there, we stopped there, we got off, walked a little bit, and found this amazing idol. Obviously, at one point there was a temple. The walls had crumpled. There was no roof. The pillars are crumbling, but the idol was intact. As you can see, it's wilderness all around. So my granddaughter took pictures, and Then I wrote this poem. Seated serene on her abandoned deity, I've called it abandoned deity. Seated serene on her steed at the base of Laugar, the deity smiles. Undeterred that the roof over her head has blown off, that the pillars supported have become stumps, cracked cement, rusted iron, exposed to the naked sky. Paint washed clean by repeated rain, her sparkling white flings light back at the blazing sun. Trees sway towards her and away at the whim of the wind. She smiles at crow and cat, dog and buffalo, cycle and limousine, through rain and shine, throughout day and night. She embodies the stoic rock of Laugar. Part 2 of the same poem. I cannot name her. She's from an unfamiliar iconography. I am not drawn to idols, but this one's resilience is empowering. She has withstood storm after storm, remaining rooted to her ground. Her gaze fixed at the mountain that has become her fort. Thank you. I just sometimes wonder how we were taken to just the space, just that outcropping where this sort of demolished temple remained. I mean, we were talking earlier of, vibes and energies, and was it some energy that of the idol or the goddess that pulled us there? Or, I mean, we could have stopped anywhere along the to drive out there, we drove around 20 miles, so we could have stopped anywhere. But how come we just stopped there? And it was not on the road or anywhere near the road. We had to walk a little bit and we came across this. How did it happen? No explanation. And I'm happy to live without an explanation.
Thank you. You're on mute, David.
Yes, I was waiting to see if Mayor had more to recite. I didn't want to interrupt because this hasn't been very long at all. It's been more like 14 minutes or something. If you wish to read more.
I had planned to read. Okay. So I think I'd like to end on this note, on the note of the abandoned deity.
Okay, great, very powerful stuff. Does anyone want to comment on her work? I'll stop the recording.